What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Connecting with Human. Today we have a really special guest. Is a really close friend of mine, and he has brought me a lot of value. So throughout this whole pandemic, every time I call him, he gave me a lot of pointers for every single thing that I asked him, and he brought me so much value. And that's exactly where the idea came from. I asked him every time, and he gave me his pointers. And then again, this is a disclaimer: consult your own personal assistant or whatever, whoever you want to go to, but these are just our opinion and his opinion towards this whole topic. And yeah, invest at your own risk and do your own due diligence, but these are just a couple of pointers that we hope that brings you a lot of value. And thank you for watching. So Omar, please tell the people who are you, what you do, and why you brought me so much value throughout this whole pandemic thing and in finance especially.
Mo, thank you very much for having me first. I'm excited. This channel is amazing, so I'm excited. Now, I'm glad that I bring you some value, especially during the pandemic and during these times where there's a lot of uncertainties.
Yeah.
Now, who am I? I have, well, first, I'm a friend of Mo. That is number one. And number two, I've been in the financial services field for a while. I've worked on in the advisory side of things, so personal finance. Now, I specialized for a few years in personal investing.
Mm-hmm.
I left this. I went with another institution. I worked in corporate strategy.
Mm-hmm.
So I managed the Atlantic part of Canada. I managed part of Ottawa in terms of deriving corporate strategy. And now I'm back in a different institution on
Mm-hmm.
the mortgage side. So all of this kind of brings a different perspective. And keep in mind, like Mo said, what I share is a personal experience, a personal opinion derived from a personal experience. So you can take it, run with it. It's up to you. Some things have worked for me. So hopefully today we'll share some of the things that have worked for me personally, what I achieved, and maybe again, there's no one brush that paints all, but maybe some of the things are best practices that can work for you. So I'm excited, and of course, plus this, there's my YouTube channel is gonna be hopefully in the link. So let's make it happen. Thank you more for having me once again.
No, man, pleasure is all mine, man. Thank you for doing this. So let's jump right in, man. First time that I called you right away, the first call during this whole pandemic, I asked you, man, so what should I do with my finance? And that's exactly the question I'm going to start with. So where we are right now, this whole pandemic, and we're a couple months in, what should people do, and then how should people think about their whole finance in general, and what recommendation would you give to the person that doesn't have all their finance in place and that's just all over the place, and how can they kind of fix that? In my opinion, money is a philosophy and a science, and that's why where you come in and you kind of explain the philosophy and the science behind it. So please jump right in.
Okay, so I told you before when you called
Yeah.
me, this was a
Yeah.
great question.
Mhm.
Now, the uncertainty, the
Yeah.
good thing about it, it develops thinking,
Yeah.
right? Now, let me tackle this question, but I'll go a step back.
Of
You know,
course.
there are two things, and people who know me, they're sick
Hmm.
and tired of me saying it. There are two things to developing something successful or developing a strong financial plan. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, first thing that you can jump to number two without is a strategy. So there is a difference between strategy and a
Hmm.
tactic. Okay. If I go tell you, Mo, in this time, go invest in XYZ, go buy a property, Mo, go buy Apple stock, I will be giving you a tactic without a strategy. I'll be fooling you. And anyone who tells you, go buy this specifically is
Yeah.
bullshit. Sorry for my
Uh-huh.
language.
Of
Just
course, man. No, you can say whatever you want. You're good.
thank you. So, now, of course, some people will say, oh, well, I'm going to give you right now a tactic and it's a valuation of XY stock and you should buy it for this reason. Well, this is great. But keep in mind when you're looking at it, this is a tactic. You're looking at a tactic. Now, a strategy
Hmm.
is, well, in this time, how do I set goals?
Hmm.
Who am I? Where am I currently standing? What am I looking to do? Why am I going to do what I'm going to do? Not just investing, but in terms of credit and all of this. And defining where, past, current, and future stages you want to be at that
Hmm.
will lead you to tactics.
Hmm.
So you can't say, like I said, I'm gonna buy X stock, but what you can say, I'm looking to grow my wealth by 5% every year
Hmm.
to reach XYZ in savings, to reach a specific amount in savings. Once you say this, then you can look at your tactic and say, well, tactic 1, 2, 3 are going to help me reach 5%, right?
Mhm.
So this way you're disciplined. So I think the biggest advice I will give, especially that people have a lot of time on their hands, and it's a time where you can kind of regroup and organize your papers, is
Mhm.
building a strategy. Now,
Mhm.
I'm gonna go a little bit further on this one, if
Please
that's
do.
okay with
Yeah.
you. Okay. So building a strategy requires a few things, and I talked about actually some of these things in one of the articles I've written on LinkedIn. I know we talked about this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one of the things I said when we're building strategy is let's see where the past is and where
Mhm.
do we currently exactly stand. So how exactly do I do this in terms of a strategy? Well, first I have to define my net worth.
Mhm.
Very simple. It is assets minus liabilities,
Lab-
all you have.
Yeah.
Very simple. Now, I know a lot of people are in school. They do it for corporate and all of this. For you, it's so simple. It's a
Mhm.
snapshot. It's a picture of where you stand. It's not cash flow, just you're taking a quick picture with your accounts, your bank accounts. You
Yeah.
see, you own a car, if you have finance on it, all of these things, you take it and boom, you have a formula. So you know a number. Numerically, your net worth is $1,000.
Mhm.
Numerically, your net worth is 100,000. Numerically, 1 million. So on. That is one. Now, great. We developed this. Second piece is cash flow. And that's a big topic people are panicking about right now is, well, how am I going to survive? But before you calculate, go in tangents of calculating or doing the tactics, you need to know exactly what's coming in and out. So big advice, and it's a hard advice because I've seen it with a lot of my clients when I do it. There's the panic that happens and there is some embarrassment and all of this,
Mhm.
but do it. Bring your 3 month bank statements,
Mhm.
past 3 months. Look at the categories you spend in.
Mhm.
Divide it up. See what's going in a monthly, so how much you're earning. And for everyone, for students, for seniors, for young people, old people, working full time, part time, there is always an income,
Mhm.
whether it's allowance or whatever. There is always money coming in. So look at your account, see the amount of money coming in monthly, and the and
Mhm.
divide it up in categories. So say I spend this for rent, I spend this for food, I spend this for that, whatever. You
Yeah.
will net a specific amount that is cash flow. So ideally, you would be cash flow positive. If you're cash flow negative, then adjust your expenses or increase your income to make
Mhm.
sure that you're cash flow positive at
Yeah.
the end of the day. Now, when you're cash flow positive, that means now you know two things about yourself. You know you're worth this much,
Mhm.
and you know per month you're going to be positive, for example, by $200.
Yeah.
These are the first two things. Once you get there, you start identifying your timelines, you start identifying your risk tolerance based on the first two factors, you start identifying your goals, and then we can go into stage two. Does that make sense?
Oh, of course, man. No, that's such a good point because you're pretty much starting from the basics. And what's so absurd to me, and it catches me every single time when people talk about finance, but they have no clue how much they have and how much they spend. Like they don't keep track of anything, which is crazy.
Drives me insane.
Yeah,
Drives me.
exactly. But I get it. It's a form of education, and then that's such a key part, right? And that's why education is such a like key part to it. It's not rocket science, but you're just spending a little bit of time and then learning about it. But that's such a great topic that you just went from strategy to tactics. So first, so I'm just gonna break it down what you just said right now, and because right now I'm learning too. Rather than just be people learning, I'm learning as you're talking right now. So I'm just gonna back it up a little bit, and you tell me, and I trust you to jump back in every single time I make a mistake. So essentially, know how much you have, how much you make, and how much your expenses are. Asset versus minus liabilities, you get your net worth, and the cash flow, how much money you make, and yeah, from there, once you have a clear picture, it's essentially you saying face reality.
Yeah.
You have to face reality. You can't look the other way, and then let just get the bubble keep growing, and once this pops, you're screwed.
And sometimes it sucks to face reality. Sometimes it sucks. That's why it's hard. It sucks when you look at your accounts and say you spend something like $50 subscription on something embarrassing.
Yeah.
I figured that I had a subscription for the beer club one time.
Uh-huh.
So, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
It's not that I have a good beard or anything. So, with these things, embarrassing things can come. And one of the things that drives me insane, like you said, is, you know, people getting so impressed by flashy things. For example,
Yes.
my God,
Yes.
this is me insane.
Oh my
When
God.
someone driving a crazy car and they're using it on rent or something,
Yeah.
and well, if the flashy car means your income. I calculated in my head. I have a base amount of income that will go in a car, and I'm like, okay, so is this person right now I'm seeing, does they make 700K a year?
Mm-hmm.
For example, because some
Yeah.
people claim, oh, I have 100K, I make 100 or 200K, and I drive, well, I don't know, a Ferrari or something.
Yeah.
Like, you're out of your mind.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Even if you make that much money,
Yeah.
that shows that you're dumb on the side of spending it on the right things. So that's why with these things, I don't trust a lot of people that will come and tell you, oh, look at my car, so I make a lot of money. No, you're dumb. You're just dumb that you're spending something that you can even afford, but it's not
Yes.
within the reach we defined.
Yeah.
That's why I
Yeah.
say education is so important. Sorry to jump back in, but this drives
No,
me.
no, that's another great topic, man. For that, we can talk about all day long because it just goes back with impressing people that you don't really know, and then that's just a spiral that's gonna suck you in. It's a black hole that you're never gonna get out of. Only you can pull yourself out of it. It's a mindset, and that's just a key factor in your life. So yeah, man, it's just crazy. So how can people shift that mindset from going from there and just being smart about their money and about their finance? Because at the end of the day, it's a mindset. It's a train of thought that you develop over time.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a great question. Okay, so I give this a little bit of a thought in terms
Mm-hmm.
of how can someone change their mindset? I
Mm-hmm.
think more it comes down to building a habit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, building a habit of understanding that you shouldn't. I mean, not shouldn't. If you hear it from me, you're still dependent on me. But anyways, ideally, I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
depend on other people how they perceive me
Of course.
to make myself feel more worthy. So it's the development. So there's a book. It's called The Seven High Effective
Highly effective.
for Effective People. Seven
Yes.
Important Habits for Highly Effective People.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, it talks about something very, very important. It talks
Mm-hmm.
about the three stages of development: dependence,
Yeah.
interdependence, or
Mm-hmm.
sorry, independence, and interdependence. So three stages: dependence, independence, and interdependence.
Okay.
In terms of maturity,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry I'm driving off of finance right now, but in terms,
This is part of finance. This is what the foundation is, and we're talking about the foundation. So go ahead.
thank so it's dependence, independence, interdependence. So
Mm-hmm.
dependence is when you're born, physically, mentally, emotionally, you're dependent
Yeah.
on your family. You can't even survive a few days if they're not around,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you're dependent. You need food. If you're crying, someone needs to take care of you. So everything, you're dependent. As you mature, and by the way, maturity doesn't happen all at the same time. So maybe physically you matured, but mentally and emotionally you haven't. Or maybe mentally and emotionally you have, and physically you haven't. So you
Mm-hmm.
mature and you go to independence. So now this stage is about the I. I can. I will do this. I am this. This stage you're saying, I got this.
Mm-hmm.
This is me. Now, this stage for some people is perceived that this is the reality, this is how they will break free. Okay. Now, the interesting part is with this one, yes, it's great. It shows progress and it's a key milestone to say, I got to a stage of independence.
Mm-hmm.
These are the people you will see that they say, I can do this, but they wouldn't look at you. They're like, you know what? Let me be in my own bubble. Let me manage. I'm just gonna mind my own business.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that bullshit. You know, not looking at people outside is
Mm-hmm.
also shit. You know, So, when we have this conversation of, well, how can I not have people judge me? You need to get to a stage, I think,
Yeah.
where you say, well, I'm interdependent. And this is the stage of we, okay? This is the stage where we say, okay, well, I understand that my power is this, but I need your brain. For example, I like something you did and it shows interdependence. This show, you're no expert on finance, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, you know what? I'll bring someone, or for example, who knows personal finance, or
Yeah.
I don't know. When I do my new stuff or my YouTube channel, I'm no expert on video editing, so I'll bring a guy who knows video editing.
Yeah.
So this is the stage of interdependence. I understand that I'm important, but I understand that you're important. You're not. I can rely on you, and you can rely on me to grow. I think once we get to this stage that we realize all of this,
Mm-hmm.
then we can say, you know what? I am comfortable in my own skin, but I understand that you're valuable too. Therefore, I don't care if you judge me, and I'm not gonna judge you because you're valuable. Even if what you're saying internally I know is bullshit, I'm just gonna try to take in that bullshit as much as I can,
Mm-hmm.
just because I know you might get something valuable there. So at the end of the day, like I told you even in one of our phone calls, we sometimes try to impress people. We say something that you probably us, you probably brain, and then they're like, okay, well, good luck to this guy, and they move on with their life.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that that's part number one in personal finance is
Mm-hmm.
you gotta accept where you stand. I will tell you an example.
Mm-hmm.
I've told you I have a
Yeah.
property,
Yeah.
an investment property, but I
Mm-hmm.
still drive my Honda Civic.
Mm-hmm.
I earn good money from my work.
Yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
earn good money from my business on the side. I earn good money from whatever investments I make.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. It doesn't fit me. So I'm like, you know what? I'm good with where I am right now. I'm just gonna manage with what I have. I'm cool. I
Mm-hmm.
don't care. If you just the house, no one can flash and see it.
Yeah.
No one. It's just for me, but it made more financial sense.
Of course.
Or I could have bought a Tesla. So either
Yeah.
or.
No, 100%. And that's another topic. So that goes into a perfect branch of finance is there's a difference between liabilities and assets and things that give you cash flow. And then that's what you have to be really careful of. And then that's where the education and you like teaching yourself what the difference is and how you can apply yourself. So no, that was great, man. But so let's talk about budgeting and how that is such an essential part of moving forward. We already talked about the asset versus liabilities, what you need as a mindset to move forward. So let's talk about more of a concrete examples of budgeting and how that can help you in the future, and especially things like times like these where there's a pandemic happening, and that fund would have been really helpful, like an emergency fund. And then if you do recommend an emergency fund, how long should that be, and then what people should think about like that sort of thing.
Okay, so this is a multi-side question, so I'm gonna try to kind of cover all dimensions very quickly. Okay,
Yeah.
so when we're talking about budgeting,
Yeah.
uh, I'm gonna give a quick formula to
Okay.
start off.
Yeah.
I hope anyone or when people are watching this, they
Hmm.
kind of take a note with this area,
Yeah.
and maybe we'll talk more details.
Hmm.
So basic budget, 50% goes into your needs, the things you absolutely cannot live without: food, water, rent, da 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 da. Needs, they're not going to change, they're non negotiables. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, 30% will go into your wants, the cool, whatever, because wants are important. What did I tell you before we jumped right straight before to this call, Mo? What do I love?
Oh, you love customizing your clothes.
Here you go.
Yeah.
That is a want. I want to do this because I
Hmm.
think it's super cool. For me, and you know what? This is something I'm willing to spend money on because it brings me happiness.
Yeah.
So, you know what? You gotta have a space in your budget for happiness, so in order for you to keep going.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Now, the third one is savings. 20%. I will tell you this. At least 20%. Some people will say, "Oh, do 20%." At least the bare minimum of your savings should be 20% of your
Hmm.
income. Now, this amount is a non-negotiable. You should have that happening. It's monthly. It's a cash flow. Cash flow is coming in It's happening, non-negotiable. Okay. So yeah, we said 50, 30, 20. Now you asked me about the emergency fund.
Yeah.
Now, first, you should, of course, develop an emergency fund. How to get there? I just shared 50, 30, 20.
Mm-hmm.
Now, an emergency fund looks something like this. It is access to funds, and I'm using my words very carefully. It's access to funds at hopefully no or little interest rate to cover you in case of an emergency for at least 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? An emergency fund looks like this. If I were out of job, do I have enough money to make me sustain life for the next 6 months?
Mm-hmm.
Sustain life as it is right now with no changes. So I live on a $5,000 budget, $6,000 or whatever. Do I have enough money if I were laid off from work today? And a lot of people, unfortunately, were laid off, and they
Yeah.
were discovering, oh shoot, I should have had emergency fund.
Mm-hmm.
That sucks. Now I'm stuck, and I hope the government does a program to give me money. If you're relying on this, there is a problem. I think they did a study. I think what was it? Um, I think was it 20% of Canadians said they would run out of money if
Oh,
something like this. What?
the number was even higher. 20%, more than 20%. I don't know what the exact number is. People are living to paycheck, and if they had a emergency of $500, they would run out of money. If they got into an accident that was worth more than $500, they
Yeah.
would run out of money. It would be a big problem.
So when looking at these things, this is crazy. Should have something in place now. An
Yeah.
alternative
Hmm.
that is in place for some people is, of course, lines of credit. They're at
Yeah.
a low interest rate. They're access to funds. This is survival mode I'm talking about,
Hmm.
right? I'm talking about, the line of credit will be there, hopefully at a low interest rate, but you're getting yourself into debt. You
Yeah.
can pick yourself up in a few months. But a lot of people have it there secured even against their homes. I
Hmm.
think it's one of the very good options is have people having secured lines of credit.
Hmm.
That is at a low interest rate, and usually the limits are very high,
Yeah.
so that you can sustain life for a while, and then you know manage with refinances. There's so many things you can do that kind of fix the formula or use your home equity. If you don't have that,
Hmm.
of course, having savings is the way to go.
Hmm.
But bottom line is, especially if you're getting your first job out of college or something, bottom line, you should have, you should be establishing that base. I will say this: you cannot build an apartment
Hmm.
with no base. It will fall
Perfectly said.
down.
Yep.
If something, I'll give you another example of when I did the investment with the real estate property. I just can't go and say, well, I can afford the property, I'm gonna buy it. This will be them.
Hmm.
But what wouldn't be them is I have the money for the property, and I have the money to fix the property in case anything happens. I have an extra money for emergency in case anything happens, because if anything happens and I'm not prepared, then I actually go more into the negative, so it becomes a big liability against me.
Yeah.
So I think one of the biggest things is people gotta understand, and it's boring. It's so boring. The stuff I'm
Finance
talking
is
about
boring.
is,
Yeah, finance is boring, but it's necessity.
you know, it's important. It's like, who said it before? When I was first working in the advisory field, I had a boss. I will say, well, you're a doctor. You're like a doctor, right?
Hmm.
People hate coming to you, but they have to come to you, right?
Exactly.
It's like, it's a medicine that is a pill that is very hard to swallow, but if you don't, you're gonna be very sick.
Yeah. No,
Hope that
man.
makes sense.
No, of course, that makes a lot of sense, man. You touched on a couple of topics, man, that we can dive right into it. But yeah, it's just people need to seek valuable information and just learn from it. And then it's the boring stuff that's really like, when you're in high school and then certain things look so flashy, and then from the outside, like, yeah, man, like, I want that. But once you get older, it's actually the contrary that really matters in life. And the older you get, the wiser you get, the more it makes sense for you to go after. And yeah, going back to the emergency fund, man, it's almost like a necessity. You have to get through it, whatever you can do. And I was thinking the saving number was going to be much higher than 20%. I was thinking like 35, 40, and if you can afford it, right? And sometimes people just they make the necessity their clothes, their cars, and then you really have to take that into account. Is that really, really, really necessity? Because you can't fool yourself.
Yeah.
You just
You see,
can't.
I put the 30% as a
Yeah.
monthly amount for want. So I
Yeah.
put a car under a want. When
Mhm.
next time when you look at someone who
Mhm.
has flashy thing, I don't care, but
Yeah.
good for them. Honestly, if someone is happy, you
Mhm.
know. But when I look at it, I'm like, okay. So I hope that this person, first of all,
Yeah.
this is within their 30% of
Yeah.
their income.
Mhm.
And now, if it's within 30%, are they using all their wants allocation on one object? That's
Yeah.
scary. So they
Mhm.
cannot eat out,
Yeah.
you know, that sort of thing. So I just think about it and say, well, as long as we're within these ranges, you should
Mhm.
be safe.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. So we've talked about people that are living paycheck to paycheck and what they can do, and then how they can think about money. So now let's shift the focus towards people that were prepared, that did have the financial literacy to, or they spent the right amount of time to learn about how money works and what they can do, even if they were laid off a job. So now the pandemic hits, everything takes a hit, the market goes down, and all that stuff. So talk to me about those people. What are some of the avenues where they can put their asset or their money into it that will grow over time? Because this is, in my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the best time to invest. And the market's kind of they went up already a little bit, but yeah, please go ahead. And what assets would you recommend?
Yeah. Okay. So this is the fun part. Probably people will skip to this part right away because this is the more fun. This is more tactics now. This is
Yeah.
we're talking details.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, with times of uncertainty, I
Yeah.
shared this with you before.
Hmm.
A proper portfolio, will have a mix. Will have a nice. Again, this all depends on the first thing. You identify where you are, da 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 da. But you'll be able to land at a
Hmm.
mix of risk-adjusted portfolio or a portfolio that will include um, diversified stocks or bonds or whatever, or a portfolio that is very diversified to get you to where you want to be. So let's talk details of times of uncertainty. What can we do really? Now, for me, I would say a portfolio that is ideal. It
Yeah.
consists of, you know, anywhere between at least 50 to 80%. I would say give and take, yeah, 50 to 80% of blue chip stocks. Now, what is blue chip stocks or what are blue chip stocks? They are leaders within a sector, leaders within a country. Example, um, technology sector in US. We're looking at Apple, leader within a sector, leader within a country,
Hmm.
so on. Financial services. Example, TD in Canada, leading within a sector, leading within a country. Now, a blue chip stock, why would I say we're gonna make the most out of our mix in blue chip stocks?
Hmm.
Now, blue chip stocks are companies you look at and say, oh man, these companies probably will stay in business for a while.
Yeah.
Probably they will handle the pandemic. Probably they're good to go. Okay. Now, so it's a company that you're able to look at their finances,
Hmm.
look at their net income, look at their cash flow. We're looking at the balance sheet. You take everything in consideration, see the value of the stock, the valuation of the stock. I recommend if people are looking into it, they recommend also, a professional's opinion in, well, why did they pick these stocks? It's not just Omar's. In my one of my on my channel, I had top five picks for stocks. It's not just my opinion. It's a compilation of all of these things
Hmm.
compiled to give you that. Now, we said blue chip companies that are going to be in the business. So, like I said, example is Apple. Mo, is Apple going to go out of business?
No.
There you go. Good. If you can answer that with certainty right
Yeah.
offhand,
Yeah.
is Apple a leader or no?
Hell yeah.
Here you go. So these things you can answer to yourself right away, and then you look at their finances and their value.
Hmm.
Okay, you look and say, well, okay, how can I capitalize here? I believe once in the beginning, when all of these things happened, I think in March, Apple, Microsoft took a quick hit, and then they recovered back. I
Really
did a,
quickly.
I
Yeah.
did a video right when they've taken the quick hit.
Mhm.
I said, these are the stocks right now. Go do it right now. These are the hit. Reason being, we know for a fact that this is panic sell. We know
Mhm.
for a fact
Yeah.
that they're undervalued, right? So now we talked about 50 to 80%. Now, on the last part, or not the last part, but I would say from 10 to 30%, or whatever the mix you want to make. I wouldn't exceed 30%.
Mhm.
Go a little bit higher in risk.
Mhm.
So examples can be not crazy risky. I'm gonna go to that one later. But an example I used before is Boeing.
Yeah.
I told you
Oh,
about,
I was gonna ask you about that. Yes.
of
Yeah.
course,
Keep.
man. I have a TikTok thing,
Mhm.
and I did the video, and it went like crazy. I think like 100K or 100,000 people watched it,
Amazing.
and some people were swearing at me personally. Like, are you dumb? Are you out of your mind? And some of the comments I quote unquote, tell me when you're cleansed or something. Tell me when you run out of money.
Yeah.
I
Just
did the video
absurd.
when
Yeah.
I did the video when I did the video when the stock was at $99 or something.
Oh my God, that's a steal.
Here you go. So, but it's not me guessing it. It's not. It's fun to talk about it and say, I was right, you were wrong. But it's not like this. It's not a
Uh-huh.
gambling, right?
Mhm.
It's very calculated. The reason why, and keep in mind, look at what I'm doing. I didn't tell you go base your portfolio on Boeing. I told you this is high risk. You should be prepared
Mhm.
because this is risky.
Mhm.
This is something you're going in and understanding that if something were to happen, you're ready for a recovery.
Yeah.
So even if it goes south, I'm still good, right? Now, why did I pick Boeing, for example?
Mhm.
Now, first, I put it in the right risk appetite. I
Mhm.
said to myself, and everyone should do this, not my advice, but everyone should go and say, well, is it in my risk appetite?
Mhm.
Can I afford it?
Yeah.
Is it within? Maybe I cannot afford the 10% extra risk. Maybe
Mhm.
I'm risk averse. It goes back to the building the strategy and all of this, right? So once I've decided that this is, I can take risk, I said, well, what are the companies? What are the sectors? I picked the sector airlines and I went deeper. I'm like, okay, so what is Boeing's business model?
Mhm.
Boeing's business model is simple. It is doing aircraft for commercial, but also personal. Not personal, sorry, for the businesses and all of this. But I looked at something very interesting. I went on their website, literally, go on their website, and you would see two additional sections to their normal aircrafts.
Yeah.
They have space and they
Mhm.
have the defense sector and space. So I'm like, oh, a company that does defense stuff, and it's Boeing, it's freaking Boeing, and their financials. I mean, it has shown progress year over year, except for the last year, it has taken a small hit. But I was in terms of their income, sorry, my apologies. In terms of their income, but when I looked at their balance sheet, I see their short-term assets or their cash is increasing. So I said, well, ah, okay, acceptable. So risky, but still acceptable. So financials, it's a check mark. I could give them a check mark.
Yeah.
Okay, they passed,
Mhm.
not with an A, but they've passed. Okay, I'm trying to use my words very carefully. So they passed, and I said, well, a company that does defense stuff for US, is that really likely to go out of business?
Mhm.
Looking at their financials and saying, you know what, they're not an airline, it's not Air Canada, for example, that can potentially go out of business,
Mhm.
potentially. It's a risk that is kind of worth taking because the company is very diversified. That if one sector falls down, one sector will increase. So there is a nice hedge that I
Mhm.
was looking at and said, you know what, that's a go. And you know, looking over the past few days, there's been a crazy increase. If you're to put your money in, when we said, I think some people actually send me a private messages. They said over 40%, over 50% return on investment. That that is the stuff that is worth it. But you've got to understand, they've done this. I hope with the understanding that this was risky. But the good thing is with having a risk portion or a nice risk portion in your portfolio, if it goes well, it goes amazing.
Mhm.
If it goes like to shit, it's not a disaster. This is what you've got to
Exactly.
understand, right?
Yeah.
most of your portfolio is based on the first part, that if that shouldn't go wrong, that
Mm-hmm.
should not go wrong for the long term. I'm not saying tomorrow. Tomorrow, obviously, there's going to be a dip, or after tomorrow, or a year from now. But I'm saying for like 3, 4, 5 years, it will not go wrong. The other one, if it goes wrong, you're not really in a shithole. Now, the last portion is 0 to 5% maximum is your play money.
Mm-hmm.
I say this to people. I'm like, you know what? You've got to experiment. You've got to learn. But not learn and say, oh, I'm gonna guess. This is good. That's bullshit. You're not learning shit. Learn how
That's
to.
gambling.
That's just straight gambling. Learn how to read financial statements. Learn how to make, look at the micro picture, the macro, and say, you know what? I'm gonna look at this ETF, for example. This looks good. This looks bad. I'm gonna try something. This is your trial money, and very risky. You should be very prepared to lose all of this money if you can. That's why I say 0 to 5%. Kind of, this is very tactical, but I hope it delivers what you were looking for.
No, 100%, man. And going back to the Boeing, just quickly, well, the people that made the investment at like, excuse me, the people that made the purchase at $99, they're laughing right now. But the funny part is it could go up to like $300 over a couple of years, right? So
Or it
the
can go
upside,
back down.
yeah, exactly. Or it could lose everything. But like you said, there needs to be a right amount of money that you're willing to lose, but still hedge yourself against it.
Can I actually jump on this one a little bit?
Yeah,
When we said it can go up or it can go
yeah,
down, this is where also I talked about an interesting concept before. It's called dollar cost averaging.
bingo.
So
What is
I
dollar cost averaging?
thank you. So I don't care if things go up or down. This
Hmm.
is the basic concept. This concept will lead you to say, I don't give a crap if I'm losing money right now. It's just very counterintuitive to hear.
Hmm.
But when you're looking at it, dollar cost averaging is simply explained as you investing over specific intervals of time and investing specific amount. Example, investing $100 over or in a period of every 2 week period, in a bi-weekly period. $100 specific amount. That $100 does not change. That period does not change. What's in it for me? Why the heck would I do this? If the stock is down, if Boeing stock was at 99, why didn't Omar take all, if he's so certain, if he knows shit, why didn't he take all his money and throw it in? Because Omar doesn't know shit.
Hmm.
Omar makes a very educated plan to say, you know what? This plan, I'm gonna follow it religiously. This plan, I cannot play with it more than the limits, even if it's tempting. I knew it was tempting in the Boeing stock, for example, that I wanted to buy more because I knew it was gonna go up. But there is no I knew in the game. I knew in this game
Everyone could be wrong. Yeah.
you lose your money. So this game is the game of someone who's very disciplined, who's right in the right frame of thinking to say, I have a plan. I don't give a crap what's happening.
Hmm.
This plan can be adjustable. Don't get me wrong. I
Hmm.
will adjust the plan, but I wouldn't adjust the tactic. The tactic should follow the plan. So when we invest in Boeing, let's stick with this example. I will invest, let's say, roughly $200 every week. Okay. Week one, stock is at $100. I invested $200. I bought two stocks. Week two, it went down to 50. I bought four stocks with the same $200. Week three, stock is at $200. So I bought one stock. Over time, you will tend to buy at an average price point instead of buying at one point and taking that huge risk. What if you buy today at 100 and tomorrow it goes to 50? You're
Yeah.
like, oh shit, I invested all my money, now I lost.
Yeah.
But then, if you were to take the dollar cost averaging approach,
Hmm.
you would say, oh, it went down. This is great. I'm going to buy more of the same stock with the same exact amount. So for you, you have that comfort knowing that your money is gonna be at an average point, right?
Hmm.
So you bought overall with the Boeing stock, for example, you bought at an average of $112. Now the stock is at 150. Great news for you. You're killing it. Instead of saying, well, you bought at 100, let's say, and it went to 150, you made 50%. Or That'll be even the amazing news. But the shit news will be, what if you bought at 200 and the stock now is at 150? You just lost whatever that percentage is,
Hmm.
right? So you've got to start thinking about it. Well, how can I be disciplined, but in the same time make the most amount of money without getting too excited? This is pretty much dollar cost averaging concept explained.
That is beautifully explained, man. And just to add a little bit to that, is essentially you cannot let emotions get the best of you. And then that's where the tactic and the plan comes in. And just to tie it up all together, the plan is gonna let you do the work without your emotions running you.
Yeah.
So control your logic rather than and your emotions, and then let logic run the race rather than emotion.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
man. Absolutely, man.
So my next question is what do you think about the market versus Main Street versus Wall Street? What do you think about that? Do you think it's overinflated? What is going on for a person that doesn't really know about stocks? Because it made a recovery from where we started in March 23rd, I believe. Yes. So yeah.
Okay, so now is the game, or now is the time for the game of calm. Okay. Things are all over the place. If you notice what happened with George Floyd, the riots in Minneapolis,
Yeah.
things are disastrous in the U.S. right now. Reason why I bring U.S. is U.S.
Yep.
controls everything, controls the market pretty much, right? Now with these tons of uncertainties, do real life data reflect what's really happening, or do Wall Street reflect what's really happening in real life? And does real life is real life reflected in Wall Street? Very tough question, but what we can say is the valuation of stocks right now is all over the place.
Mhm.
It's very tough right now. It's except for the FANG companies, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, and Google. Let's
Mhm.
put these on the side because their business model is a little bit different. But let's look at the rest of things. Some things are, hyper increased, or some things are really down and it doesn't show their true value. So you can't really judge. What is the best approach to tackle the uncertainty? Is my opinion, keep calm, keep investing, but understand two things. Dollar cost averaging, that's a must. You must
Mhm.
utilize this in terms of uncertainty. I will tie it in again because it's a very important concept.
Mhm.
But you must understand something. In my opinion, this is going to last a while. After it finishes, the behavior of consumers are changed forever. After this finishes, after hopefully only a recession, no depression,
Mhm.
after this recession finishes, we're going to be in a stage of people will be scared, will be saving more. So everything will be different. So you must understand before you go in that you're staying in for the long game, for the long, long game. Um, I see a potential recovery within at least 12 to 18 months to start to get back on the same levels as we were before the pandemic, not to get more, just be back on the same level. Now, I would prepare, this is what I hope for and I see, but I'm preparing for 5 years. So, do
Hold
you see
long
the
term.
difference I made?
Yeah.
There's a difference between what I see and hope and what I'm preparing for, right? So these are two different things. So I would say in the times of uncertainty like this, prepare for a 5 year,
Mhm.
hope for 12 to 18 months or 2 years.
Well, no, 100%. You're pretty much hedging yourself, and you want the greatest return that you can possibly can. And if things work out in 12 to 16 months, and correct me if I'm wrong, you want it to be the greatest return you can possibly get. So you want to hold for the long run. So right now we're pretty much talking about active investing, and for the person that knows how to read financial statements and all the other stuff. What about the person that doesn't really know how to do read financial statements? What do you think, like passive investing? What are your thoughts on passive investing and what they can do with that? Do you think mutual funds are good and then with their fees and all that stuff? So what are your thoughts on that?
Let's do something cool here. Given that the person we talked about, person X, doesn't is not He's not a finance expert and
Yeah.
don't have to be, by the way.
Yeah.
But this person also doesn't want to spend the time learning. And I understand, doesn't want to spend crazy, like, they want to learn the basic stuff, but they just wanted to get it over with.
That's
Okay.
exactly it. Yeah.
Now, this person is, uh, my take is the best option that a lot of times actually outperform individual stock pick
Mm-hmm.
is index investing,
Beauty. Yeah.
right? So what is index investing? What is this guy talking about? Okay, index investing, NASDAQ. NASDAQ is the tech, tech sector, and it's all tech stocks and whatever. You just literally, so the whole market is performing in a specific way. Literally, the whole market combined, or let's pick something that is, it can be imagined. S&P 500, Standard and Poor 500 companies. Okay, the index mimics or follows directly all of these companies. They get an average, and the index mimics the whole market.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on average, the index will work like this.
Yeah.
Okay, so it goes up and down, but it goes up over the long period of time,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there are options to do this. You can invest in mutual funds that mimics a specific index. Now, mutual funds can be great for many things, diversification, da 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 da. Keep in mind, they have higher management fees called MER, management expenses ratio. It can range between 2 to 2.5%, even sometimes higher.
Mm-hmm.
So it costs a lot of money to invest in mutual funds, but it gives you that peace of mind knowing that there are professionals that are managing the fund. You can pick the right index for you, and boom, you let your hands go off, right? Or you can invest also in an ETF, an index ETF, or an
Mm-hmm.
ETF that mimics an index or whatever. We talked about, you asked me about the Vanguard and all of this. I'm not going to go into the details, but bigger picture, ETFs, very similar to mutual funds. The difference is they are day traded, so you can day trade them really quickly, and they have much, much, much lower management fee.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, if you ask me for my honest opinion, I'm now routing for actually ETFs. But ETFs, you kind of have to completely do it on your own, so you get a self-directed account. This is going very detailed. Get a self-directed account, find the best ETF for you, and boom. Mutual funds, a lot of big financial institution offer, so you can go talk to an advisor, tell them exactly your situation, and they will tell you, listen, you have three options, one, two, three, pick. So whatever service you want, you will pay for.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much it, right? So if you don't want to do a lot of any effort, mutual funds is your go. If you want to do some effort, it's ETFs. If you want to do a lot of effort, it's individual stock picking. It really depends on you, but yeah, definitely. You don't have to be an expert. You can literally get started right after you finish watching this. Just get on it because everyone should get on it.
100%, man. And someone said this, and then it really stuck with me is personal finance is just personal, so you have to do the work.
Yeah.
Like there's personal, it's there
Yeah.
for a reason. So just keep at it, and you got to learn by yourself, and ask people for help, and then go out and do what you have to do. Because if you don't get over greedy, you will get a part of it. It's not just like you're gonna take it all. You're gonna get a part of it, and it'll be good, and you just stick with that.
With this, you know what I say always? Surprisingly, I make some good money, but I I didn't want to make some good money. All I wanted, I said, well, I tell this to my friends. There's a big cake, right? And the big cake has some cherries on the top.
Yeah,
I don't even want a piece of the cake. I want a nice piece of that cherry on the top
a
because the
piece of
cake
the
is
cherry.
huge.
Yeah.
It fits everyone. The piece of the cherry, no one will notice. You
Hmm.
do it in the right way, no one will notice. And you wouldn't have, because if you go and cut the cake, everyone will say, "Oh, what are you doing? The party's not started yet," or whatever, right? So I say, no, no, no. I just need the small, and even if you take the whole cherry, some people will say, some people will, would not see you. This is the analogy I use. If you take just something small, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It can be a million,
Hmm.
but it's overall on aggregate, it's a small piece of the cake. You do it in the right way. You listen very well to people around you and see how you can be a part of this party in the first place, to be able to take part of that sharing. That's what I say. Not be over greedy and cut the whole cake. or
Yeah.
take and run because it's not gonna work. You're not. Very few people are Mark Zuckerberg, and I
Yeah.
hope all are, but we can all. It's our fault if we don't have the amazing life we want. It's our fault, I would say.
I totally agree, man. I totally agree. And there's this guy that I watch, man, and he keep preaching the same thing. He's like, you don't have to be the smartest person. You just have to listen to the smartest people around you, and then from there you will get whatever you want, and you'll learn from it. And if you pride yourself in learning, like I'm learning from you, and then anybody that's going out there just to learn and better themselves, that will get you much farther than just being in your own bubble, like we started in the beginning, and that will get you nowhere. And that's just my thesis,
Yeah.
and that what I agree with. But we'll see in the long run what happens.
I'll tell you more. I so agree with this. You know what I say. Thankfully, with my career, things have taken a turn for the good.
Yeah.
Thankfully, quick. But here's I think why. If I were to look at it, one of my friends, great friend, he has a great job in a big financial institution, and we talk, and I say if there's one skill I have is delegating the right people in the right place and making sure I understand and listen, having the right people in the right place. So this is literally I think my only skill set is connecting people with the right things or having the right people do the right thing. This is the only thing I see. That's why when I worked in corporate strategy, this was my only thing. I would say, what if we move this here? But the technicalities, you don't have to have none of it actually.
That
If you have some, it would be great to have a conversation, but that's it.
That's a huge skill. When you say that's the only skill that you have, that is a huge, 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 huge skill. So yeah, that makes total sense, and that is why, like Alhamdulillah, you got what you wanted, and then Alhamdulillah, it went in the right direction. And that's then that what we were talking about right now. That was exactly my next question. Is like, how do you think about this whole thing and whatever's happening around us, and how do you turn the scarcity mindset into positive mindset, and how do you move forward from this? And you already elaborated on that, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, I agree. And you talked about, actually, you bring up always very positive thoughts in terms of what's happening right now. That's
Hmm.
why me and you, when we have conversations, always great. I told you, you know,
Hmm.
when we're walking in this situation, we can look at it and say, oh shit, I'm gonna be at home, da 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 da, and whatever. Or we can take it very positively. You don't have to set expectation for yourself that because people are reading, I'm gonna read. What if I hate reading?
Yeah.
happen to love reading, so I'm
Hmm.
reading. But you don't have to read. A friend of mine is learning what's it called, the Illustrator on Adobe, the
Yeah.
graphic design, or whatever. You know, but and it doesn't. By the way, sometimes it doesn't have to be productive. You can look at it and say, how can I make the most out of it so I'm happy,
Hmm.
right? If it's productive in the way, awesome, right? So this is a time I think we will never get where life is paused. Literally, things are paused. You can regroup. I love to reorganize papers to say, well, where am I standing right now? Is that what I want to do? Is my head in the right place or am I in the wrong one? Or, where exactly do I stand? How can I improve? All of these things, right? So I think it's a great time. It's a pause. I don't think it should cause distress to people. It's a pause. So let's just try our best to make the most out of it because it's happening anyway. So we just rather suck it up and be happy.
I totally agree, man. And again, just to add a little bit to that is no one is going to come save your ass. You have to save it yourself. And the only thing that, and then elaborate on that because at the end of the day, people can tell you what you want to know and what you have to do. Like you're telling me, right? Essentially, I'm learning right now. And you can tell me all these beautiful things, and this is what you have to do, and then open up a TFSA and all that stuff. If I don't go open that up and don't do it myself, information is useless.
No one. You know, okay, I want to share something on this part really
Please
quick.
do. Please do.
There are three things that make you do something.
Hmm.
Okay? These three things are knowledge, skill, and sorry, it was knowledge, skill, and
Execute.
desire.
Desire. Okay.
Okay, so three things: knowledge, skill, desire. Now, knowledge is your what and why.
Hmm.
It's going and saying, well, what did I just teach you right now? For example, what is a TFSA, for example? and why is it important to have? Okay, a skill, or let's pick an easier example. You want to be a better runner.
Mm-hmm.
So your what is, I want to be a better runner. Why? I want to improve my health. How do I do it? You look up techniques and tactics. You see what does the best runner do? What does the shittiest runner do? What does the mediocre runners do? And you kind of look at things and you start practicing. So it's the how. This is the skill. So you move from knowledge, you turned it into a skill. But all of this wouldn't work if there is no desire. Desire is the motivation to do something. So it's pretty much the intersection of all these three things that will make you actually go out there and go get something. You know, I can tell you about it all day, but me telling you about it, I'm just giving you the first stage, is knowledge. That's it, right? Second and third is all you. I cannot give you desire. I cannot give you the skill. No one can hand you a skill, but I can hand you knowledge actually.
Yeah.
I can hand you knowledge right now, but I can never hand you these two. So I think it comes down to understanding the cycle of doing something and be good at it is the full picture. Like you said, no one will save your ass. I will never. That's why when I talk to someone, I say, "Oh, don't take it from me. What I'm giving you right now is raw data. It literally doesn't mean jack shit. Literally, you can take it and throw it in the garbage right now. You can retain 1% of it, you can retain 100% of it, do your thing, but it's you who are going to follow the next stages.
Man, I'm so excited, and yeah, it just look at my face, man. It's dope because
That's it.
at the end of the day, this is the basics of what we do and who we are as person, as people, because that desire comes from pleasure and pain, and both
Absolutely.
are great drivers of humans and whatever they want to do in action, man. And that just, if that doesn't drive you into execution, I don't know what will. And yeah, that's it, man. It's amazing what how far we can go just with like building small desire, which will accumulate, not even accumulate, it will add to the desire over time. And yeah, and if you do that over time, you will kill it.
Exactly.
So we've pretty much talked about a lot of the topics that relate to money, finance, what you can do, emergency fund, how to think about money, and the basics of money and asset versus liabilities, and how to think about that. So one of my last question is, how should people think going forward about the possibilities? We already talked about the scarcity mindset and the abundance mindset, but I want to go into more of specifics of what other opportunities out there in these times. And when a pandemic hits or when there's a downturn in the economy, what other possibilities or opportunities do you think people should look for? And how do you search for them?
Okay. So I'm gonna be
And we
very
already talked
detailed.
about stocks, and then yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, no, no worries. I'm gonna be. This is very detailed. That's not the limit. These are just a few creative things.
Yeah.
Now, when we're looking at the streams of income and possibilities of
Mm-hmm.
what you can do during this time, first to increase the money coming in. Okay. Um, and then we can maybe touch on the decrease of money going out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because these are the two things that constitute, who you are in your cash flow pretty much. Okay. So, well, one of the easiest things so many people talk about is using your current skill set.
Yeah.
Uh, Easiest example, I love talking, I love writing, I read a few things. So I said, well, how can I combine all of these things? Came up with the YouTube channel. That's something for fun, but
Mm-hmm.
also, yeah, it doesn't have to be for fun. It can turn, and it does turn into a monetary possibility. You can actually make money out of it.
Yeah.
Straight up, you do make money out of these things. So that's a possibility you can look at. Another possibility, of course, we said is investing and learning your best about investing. A third one, and this is, if you have some money, okay? If you have some money, real estate investing during pandemics.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's worth exploring. Look at my words. I gotta be careful. It is something that is worth exploring, given that the market have taken a hit already. Now, what is the lowest point? We don't know. But things have taken a hit, things have slowed down. So I believe a good possibility right now is buying a property, a rental property actually, that can be there. You will earn some income, but also over time, when things kind of get back to normal, you build a nice equity. You build a nice equity, and probably the value of this property is going to increase because we know things are kind of undervalued, a little bit undervalued now. So it's also something that is worth exploring. A lot of people are talking about starting their e-commerce business. I'll be very careful there. I'll be very, very, very careful. It's a good thing.
Mhm.
Start, no worries. But when you're exploring this venue, it is so damn competitive. About 90% of people that start their own business, they fail within the first year. 80 something percent or 84% fail within 5 years. So, is having your own business worth exploring? Yes. But this is something that you shouldn't go in and say, oh, I'm going to have an e-commerce store. That sucks. Even people that do it and share their revenue numbers, I look at how much things are costing them and all of this. And when you're looking at pure profit after everything, is it that good? Sometimes no, actually. So
Mhm.
I have a big stance on e-commerce and being careful when starting something. But if you want to start a business, and you have a business plan, you have a vision, you have a mindset, you have tools to achieve financing objectives, you set clear milestones, you set, a clear corporate strategy, you set tactic objectives to achieve these strategies and all of this, and you can make it into action, and you have all the right people, then by all means discover an option of online business that will be, great. And overall, Mo, I think one of the biggest things is discovering the creativity side of people, man. When we're sitting there, I think it's a great time to discover knowledge or to gain knowledge that you can turn into a skill, and with it, with the right desire, this can turn into money making tool. But you've whatever. So I would say for a lot of people, some of the possibilities are listing down the things you like, turning, picking one or two, turning them into a knowledge, gaining knowledge in this area, turning them into skill, turning the skill into or with the desire, turning the skill into money making tool. I think this is some of the possibilities people can discover during this time.
Beautifully said. Essentially, you're saying that be productive and work your ass off and explore all the options that are out there,
Oh yeah,
but be self-aware of what you're good at and what you're not good at. And then if it works out and see the competition, then roll with it and then keep growing.
that's it, man. That's it, man.
100%. All right, so before my last question, man, tell the listeners where they can find you.
Okay. So personally, you can find me on LinkedIn. I think also Mo will probably give the link in the bottom. Check my LinkedIn. If you have any questions, of course, professional questions, of course, you reach out to me. I'm usually happy to help if you have, a career question or anything. Don't mind. Just send me something. I'll of course be in touch with you. But also, and this is very important, you can find me on YouTube. We have a channel called Financial Stop with no L, Financial Stop, one word. Now, on this channel, we talk a lot about the basic financial knowledge, like the things I talked about today. But we go in details, we go in specific tactics. We also cover weekly news of what's happening around the world. How can this impact you, your investment decisions, but not just investments. We cover holistic news. So, for example, I was telling Mo, we talked about Egypt the other day. We were talking about the US, we're talking about different countries to see how can this all impact the consumer. So check out my channel, and of course, if you subscribe, that would be great. But yeah, and of course Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. TikTok is you'll see a lot of people hating on me, but just if you want, it's up to you. Go follow, and hopefully there is some value there.
Uh, Speaking from experience, they will not be disappointed. Whoever you are, if you subscribed, you will not be disappointed, and you'll definitely get some value out of it. So yeah, man. Last question. What do you want to be remembered for when you leave this world?
Ooh, this is a tough question. Okay, let me
Some
think.
people have thought about it, some people haven't. So yeah.
Let me think. Now, Of course, the answer will change from time to time. The answer will definitely
Definitely.
change from time to time. I guess the one thing I want to be remembered for is just being when people just my name come across their head, a helpful, nice guy, not an asshole. Hopefully, not an asshole. That's that's I think one of the biggest things is just living your life with no BS, because this can sound like BS, but actually helping people, but also helping myself. You know, no bullshit. I want to help myself. That's just a given. But also, it just feels good, and I thought about this before. It can be a selfish need that I want to help myself to feel better, and it's a big dilemma in all of this. But I think when it comes down to it, what really will make me happy, what makes me tick, is when I hear people say, well, you know, this is helpful, or you know what, this helped my life in this way. When it comes down to it, if someone can say this would really mean that I'm happy. Maybe that is selfish, but I don't know. When it comes down to it, this is the one thing I want to be remembered for.
That's no, that's beautiful, man. It just I keep adding to your points, man. It's hilarious. But going back to the point where it's not selfish to help yourself, man. At the end of the day, if you want to, just a simple quote: if you want to change the world, change yourself. If you want to be helpful, help yourself, and it will trickle down to everybody else. But man, that was beautiful, man. I really appreciate you taking the time. Uh, you've been really giving with your time, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Mo. Thank you, man.